What's up, guys? I'm back once again with another exciting story about. Well, the story's not exciting, but you're back to another exciting episode of Insane Disappearances. And today's story is going to be about Shane Montgomery. Now, I picked this story out of all the others because of the fact that David Paulides picked this as one of the most strangest, one of the one of the few strangest cases that he's written about in his book. And he's also showcased it on Coast to Coast AM and another radio show called Where Does the Road Go? So this is what today's story is going to be about, and so we're going to get started. All right. Okie dokie dokie. This back here. All right. Okay. Like I said once again, today's story is about Shane Montgomery. He's been missing from Philadelphia, PA since November 27th of 2014. He was at the ripe age of 21, just coming into manhood at that point, age-wise. He was his height was 5'11", weight was 140 pounds at that time. And that photo I showed you was from Dateline, just in case you wanted to know. All right, so he was a graduate of the Roman Catholic High School and a senior at Westchester University in Philadelphia. On November 26, 2014 at 9 p.m., Shane was at his cousin's home in Manayunk when both decided to go bar hopping Thanksgiving night. The pair went to several establishments and ended their night at Kildare's Pub at the location of 4417 Main Street. Excuse me. At 1:15 a.m., Shane sent a text message to his cousin, who he knew was in the bar but couldn't locate. At 1:28 a.m., he made a call to a friend. Sometime between 1:45 a.m. and 2 a.m., Shane was escorted from the bar by the bouncer. He wasn't staggering drunk, but he was removed. This was the last time that anyone spoke to Shane. The Westchester senior didn't show up for a family function on November 27th, and was reported as a missing person. The search started quickly. The FBI got involved and interviewed the staff at Kildare's Pub. There was nothing valuable gleaned from any of the interviews. The police did find CCTV footage of Shane crossing a small footbridge between the pub and the parking lot. The footage came from Christie's nail salon at 4436 Main Street, located near the pub. The footbridge crossed the small Manayunk Canal that paralleled the Schuylkill River. He was seen walking into an adjacent parking lot. Thousands of people rallied around Kevin and Karen Montgomery, Shane's parents. They contributed thousands of hours of volunteer time searching the nearby neighborhood and even searching the river. The Golden State Underwater Recovery Team was in the water for much of the time. The first major break in the case happened on December 21st. Shane's keys were found. The keys were attached to a Philadelphia Eagles lanyard, and were found in the Schuylkill River, not the canal. The search was focused on the canal since Shane was last seen on the footage on the footbridge crossing that body of water. The keys were found at the river's edge. He was last seen in the area behind the nail salon. The search is continued. On January 3rd, 2015, the same volunteer underwater recovery team was back in the river searching for Shane. At 12:15 p.m., they were in in an area near the Manayunk Brewery at the location of 4120 Main Street at Schurz Lane. Let's see, they were 10 feet from shore in waist-deep water. In waist-deep water when they discovered Shane's body. There were no details that he was or wasn't wearing. There were no details what he was or wasn't wearing. On January 5th, 2015, a friend of Shane's family stated that the coroner told them that the death was accidental. Now, see, once again, that is a major criteria in all of these cases. Whenever the coroner's office cannot find a cause of death, they feel like they have to appease the family by telling them something that they know they're going to believe if it's coming from them. And they'll often say it was an accidental death or accidental drowning. He suffered from, or he succumbed to hypothermia. But that isn't always the case with this, because if they can't find the cause of death, obviously something happened to him that they can't seem to figure out. It is unexplained and unknown to their, expertise. But it is what it is. Okay, there was no release by the medical examiner's office. There were press statements that the official cause would be released in April. Shane was recovered in the exact location he was last seen on camera. What's fascinating about this is that detectives were interviewed by various news sources during the investigation. One detective made a statement that if Shane went in the river, his body would be far down the river. I think it's also interesting that it's been 4 months since his body was recovered, and the medical examiner's office has still not made an official statement other than his death was accidental. With the FBI involved, I have no doubt that the body is getting multiple looks by various experts trying to determine how long it was in the water, the toxicology results, and a plethora of other details. The last thing they want done is an outside expert stepping in once the body is released and doing a secondary autopsy that exposes something they haven't discovered or released. Big surprise, but it sounds more like a little bit of jealousy compiled with the fact that they feel like they're going to get embarrassed because they couldn't figure it out. So I'm like, hey, if you couldn't figure it out, they're going to find somebody else that can. Simple as that, because the parents want to know what happened to their son. I know I would, and if it was up to me, I would make sure Disappearances was the headliner in trying to find out what happened to my son or my daughter or whoever else. But that's just me. I got full, confidence in Disappearances because he's, all around good expert in all of this. He knows exactly what to look for. Okay, let's see. I think the FBI involvement will be a new trend in these types of cases. There is much that they will want to learn and understand. There's one thing that we haven't been able to do is understand why these people are turning up dead the way they are. I mean, bodies pristine, dry in a wet area, but they don't have anything wrong but their underwear. Everything else is removed, like their clothing and their shoes. Weird. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. One of the first items they'll pursue is finding a witness who observed the victim going into the water. This is an absolute key to the entire phenomenon, and it definitely is a phenomenon because it's something that can't be explained. People try to explain it. They try to say it's this or it's that. Serial killer, pedophile, whatever, but they don't go beyond that. because it's a lot easier for them to say stuff like that, like they know their son was kidnapped, or they know that their son was abducted. They're not gonna say anything like, I know my son was taken by aliens, or I know there was some type of creature out there that ate my child. But yet, most of the time when stuff like that happens, the only thing you find is tiny little bone fragments, or maybe a little femur, or maybe just the top of their cranium, like what happened to little Jerry Atadero in Colorado. So obviously some type of creature ate him alive and left nothing behind but a tiny piece of the top of his cranium, or a tiny piece from the top of his cranium, rather. But like I said, all we have is theory and out of this world facts. I'm just saying. Okay. Oh, okay. I can only hope that the Philadelphia Medical Examiner did an extensive toxicology screen that included GHB, which is another thing that is found in a lot of these people who are turning up missing. They like GHB somehow gets into their system, but there is no entry wound as far as intravenously, like a needle or something like that, or ingested. There's no, because they'll be able to figure out if it was ingested just by, I guess, following the trail of GHB in their system to say that it was ingested through their, esophagus or something like that. I'm guessing. Like I said, it is what it is. Okay. My guess is that if something unusual was found in Shane's system, we will never know. And that's very true, because any weird evidence that is recovered from a crime scene, I won't say a crime scene, but recovered from the area where the body was found, if it's something weird that they can't seem to figure out, I'm guessing they don't want to be looked at as people who comes up with these weird facts about the case. All the parents want to hear is that someone took their child, they know who it was, and they put them to justice. They don't want to hear weird stuff saying that we can't find a cause of death, or they were found in a weird way. And when you pile all these cases together, you see that there is a pattern. All the men are always found face down, in a dry creek bed or in a creek bed, or any kind of body of water, with no clothes except for their underwear on. And the shoes are removed and missing. Why would you even take the shoes, which makes no sense? I guess that's a form of DNA, because the feet will be in the shoes and the feet will sweat in the shoes. So therefore, sweat is also a form of DNA. So I'm guessing they would try to remove any evidence dealing with DNA from the body, which means the clothing and the shoes. I'm guessing. But you got a full body right there, full of DNA. But obviously, if you take away the clothing and the shoes, which will have his DNA on it, but you leave the body, obviously they removed all evidence of DNA from the body, which would mean blood or whatever else. I don't know. I'm just saying. Because I look at it like this here. If you can't find a cause of death in the body itself, you need to look up here in the brain, and to see if the brain is even in the body. Because think about it. Here's another analogy. On the Matrix, Morpheus said, and I quote, but this is after Neo said that so you can die even if you're inside the Matrix. And he told him the body can't live without the mind, which is a true fact. The body cannot live without the mind. This right here is our battery source. This is what keeps us going. This is what keeps us alive. You remove the brain, no more function. The body is just a dead stick. So I'm thinking that somehow the brain was phased through whoever's cranium and removed and taken away. Therefore, the body just dropped dead. I'm just saying, if you can't find a cause of death in the body itself, like your typical case of drugs or whatever the case may be, stab wounds, bullet holes, strangulation marks on the neck, the only thing you got is this. Now, if the brain is still there, there's probably some sort of mental damage to it, as far as a creature causing some sort of trauma to the brain, which overloaded its cerebral cortex, causing him to die. I don't know. That's just my personal look on what could be going on with these people, with them dying and the coroners not being able to find a cause of death. But you can agree with that or disagree. If you got any ideas, shoot them to me in the comment section below. Hit me up. Let me know something. Maybe you guys may know something more than what I know. I don't know. And if it's just as weird as what I'm talking about, hey, this is what this channel is for. The weird stuff, dealing with these cases. That's what I talk about, the weird stuff. I'm not saying I'm Xing out the facts, but the facts lead you to this point when you talk about weird stuff, if you know anything about it. He even mentioned that on one of his interviews too. But yeah, it's a pretty weird case. The fact that he, couldn't find his friend, so he up and just leaves, the area where he was at, and somehow ends up in the river. They don't even know how he ended up in the river. They just know he was in the river. So, and that right there will be the main mystery, how he even ended up there in the first place. Now, the body could have been dry, sitting on the edge of the river. It could have been wet. I don't know. But they found him in the river. That's the main point. They don't even know how he even got in there. They didn't mention the fact that they didn't ever mention how long he'd been in the river, because they'll say the person has been missing for 2 weeks. And next thing you know, they find him in the water. Now, it looks like the body has been in the water for like 3 days, but he was missing for 2 weeks. He hasn't been in the water for the whole 2 weeks, so where was he at the rest of those times? Something to think about, people. I'm just saying, if the body is in the water and the body was missing the person was missing for 2 weeks, so that would make you think the body was missing for 2 weeks. But it only shows in the autopsy report that he was in the water for 3 days. Where were you at the rest of those days? That's right. Makes you think. Weird. Every case ends up like that. I'm just saying. So, if you got any ideas, you know what to do. Hit me up in the comment section below and shoot me some ideas if you got them. That's what I'm here for. If you got any ideas, I will post them on my next vlog, on my channel. I will give you credit for it. I will make sure everybody knows what they told me this. I'm not gonna take anybody's, ideas and run with it. I don't do stuff like that. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to educate people on what's going on, with these cases. So that's it. That's all I got on this story. The next one I want to get to is about a young 22-year-old named Joshua Snell. Joshua Snell. That's gonna be my next post. So you know what to do. Keep your eyes peeled to my channel. Stay tuned, because I will be back with another story. Peace out and aloha.